Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host and head witch, Miss Solaris BlueRaven at the helm this evening. I want to give a shout out to everybody at Revolution Radio, staff, producers, listeners, chat room, and thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We are 100% listener supported, so if you like what you're listening to, please click on the donate button. We appreciate your support and thank you for any contribution you can make to this excellent station. Station owner Nighthawk has a great special going on. For a $100 donation, you can receive a jumbo emergency food survival seed pack, which includes 34,500 seeds and much more. And this is a great investment for anyone wanting to start a garden, add to their current garden, or just save the seeds for a later time. So go ahead and donate if you can. It's a great deal. I will also be taking calls in the second hour. The number is 347-688-2902 or Freedom Screen on Skype. And you are listening to Studio A. My special guest this evening is Renee Coltson. And born and educated in the conservative Midwest, Renee developed her practical and pragmatic approach to things that held a sense of mystery. She excelled in the corporate world for many years. Fascinating and exciting as it was, winning the game of personal power and financial success wasn't enough. There seemed to be something missing. In 1986, while on a sabbatical from corporate responsibilities, it became apparent that her ability as a natural healer could no longer be ignored. After a sequence of extraordinary events and much soul-searching, her life took a new direction, leading her onto a clear path of healing and teaching. Renee has learned from this direction, those who seek will attain, and there really is a pattern to the universe. By 1989, her natural healing ability was becoming more expanded, and she wanted to further her knowledge in the art of healing. She investigated, decided to train in Reiki, and began her healing practice using those principles. Through another sequence of profound events in February of 2000, Renee encountered the newly accessible frequencies of Reconnective Healing. Subsequently, her path shifted and evolved from a successful Reiki master teacher to a fulfilling journey, including that of an associate instructor for the Reconnection. She leads the Reconnective Animals program worldwide, facilitates Reconnective Kids programs, and is a practitioner offering sessions for people and animals in person or from a distance internationally. Renee has a long history and deep love for Earth and all that live within and upon her. She brings wisdom gained through years of interacting with the furry, feathered, and scaly citizens of the planet to workshops taught globally. Oh, wait a second here. Yeah, I almost skipped the line, you guys. To workshops taught globally. The foundation of these interactive workshops is based upon the premise and philosophy that all life sharing this biosphere are indeed in partnership to heal and evolve this plane in existence. Renee is the founder of Partnership in Planetary Healing, PIPH, a nonprofit humanitarian organization dedicated to easing suffering and raising planetary consciousness. And her website is thereconnection.com. So please welcome Renee to my show this evening. Renee, how are you?
I'm really great. Thanks for having me tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's just an honor to have you on this evening. I'm really excited to have you here, so thanks for coming on board. And a lot of questions for you tonight. I'd like to start with just telling the listeners about the Reconnective Healing process and what are the accessible frequencies used in your sessions?
Well, I have to backtrack a little bit to what I was accustomed to before I met Dr. Eric Pearl in 2000. I was accustomed to channeling Reiki with universal life force energy, which is really the premise for, all of the healing modalities, meditating, yoga, and so forth worldwide up until a certain point when we entered into another place in the universe where there's more accessible, these smaller bundles of light and information that started permeating the field of this planet. And we began to be able to access them. They were out in the universe all of the time, but somehow we were closed off from them. We were actually cut off from our higher evolution, and we could not access those frequencies. So Eric, through his journey and his profound experience back in 1993, he began accessing these frequencies. He was a chiropractor, and he had an experience that brought him to this place where he went to his office on a Monday morning, and things had changed. People had begun reporting that they felt hands on them before he made an adjustment or before he even touched them to make an adjustment, and feeling that there were other energies or other presence in the room. So that was where Reconnective Healing was born back in 1993. And we really know that these frequencies are different and they were not accessible up until about 1993 when Eric, made a conscious effort to figure out what was happening in his chiropractic practice. And it began being researched by various research teams, that their equipment, all of their data and the ways that they researched energy healing modalities, whether it was in the bioenergy field or the biophoton activity off of a person's hands, because other modalities had been studied. But when they started to measure what was, I call it emitting, or what Eric was emanating, what was coming off of him was this new level of light that had never been seen before. It was measuring differently. And there were a lot of things that were changing with these frequencies. And the reason that we're calling them frequencies rather than just energy is because it goes beyond energy. It goes into a more comprehensive bandwidth, which includes light and information. Mm-hmm. It's a new level of light, new wavelengths of light and information that had not previously been here.
It's fabulous. And would you associate that with an ascension, kind of an ascension frequency? 0 point transmission?
You know, in a word, I think we could say that these frequencies are definitely here for our evolution. So we interact with these frequencies for the purpose of, healing, bringing healing to other people, sort of opening the door so that they're basically lighting up their existence, if you will, and bringing light into dark corners in their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, it sounds like DNA activation to some degree. I suspect it parallels.
Well, it definitely affects the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they have research that has shown that when, for instance, if you damage the DNA in the plant, stem cells, they've done stem cell research, by damaging through extreme heat the stem cells in plants and then subjecting the plant to these frequencies and comparing the effect to the plant, what happens with Reiki and Qigong and Jurei and therapeutic touch and various other healing modalities, it looks different. Actually, the DNA, when it's damaged, it unwinds. And as the DNA begins to heal, it starts to rewind. Well, with reconnective healing frequencies, the research shows that literally it comes back without the anomalies that were present in it before. Mm. So in other words, if there was a defect in the plant, or say if you had a birth defect, or there was an hereditary thing in your DNA, it appeared through this plant research that it can actually bring in an evolved level of the DNA. So I can see the value in this work in so many levels because of, my specialty is animals, but how they overbreed dogs. Mm-hmm. And so some of the larger breed dogs have hip dysplasia and so on. I can see that there would be value in bringing these frequencies into that area of the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And how would someone go about accessing these frequencies? Is it something you can just pull in on an energetic level, or what's the technique used?
Well, it's very easy, actually. I mean, Eric Pearl has a book out there called The Reconnection, Heal Others, Heal Yourself. And that's the foundation of this work. And it's Eric's story and how he encountered these new frequencies and what happened in his life. And it's a pretty interesting read, actually, and it's a very quick read. But about 2/3 of the way through the book, Eric actually shares with the readers how to access these frequencies through just, being aware, bringing awareness into the hands and sort of listening with a different sense. And he shares some movements. This work is not technique, so it is beyond technique. When we're doing this work, we're not going to have to hold your hands. This way, there's no system with reconnective healing. But to teach someone how to access these frequencies, obviously we have to have people move their hands in certain ways. And Eric has developed certain exercises and so on that help people amplify their awareness of accessing these frequencies. And after that, I've had calls from people who have read the book and have called and reported to me things that have occurred with a loved one or with an animal and wanted to know if it's possible. Of course, the answer is, well, you just told me it is.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened. Beyond that, of course, we have seminars, and fully to really comprehend the art, the science, and the philosophy of this work, it's of value to go to a full weekend seminar for these frequencies. But they are here, they are accessible, and you know what? People start experiencing things just by reading that first book, The Reconnection, Heal Others, Heal Yourself.
Nice.
Which is entitled that because as we are interacting with these frequencies and we are sort of opening the door for other people or animals to entrain into the frequencies and receive a healing, we're actually also healing ourselves. That's what it's called, Heal Others, Heal Yourself.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's almost like they can get it through osmosis, I would imagine, if they went to the seminar, too. Do these vibrational signatures, well, these frequencies, as you call them, do they actually maintain, or do people lose the frequency, or is it something that kind of comes and goes, or is it something that is stabilized in the cells and the atoms of the body?
Once a person or an animal is introduced to these frequencies, and it does seem that the population of humanity has to be introduced before they can really interact with them, whether it's introduced by reading the book and becoming aware of them or having a healing session with a practitioner or going through an introduction. It just seems that people do need some help to learn how to access them in the beginning. But once they're there, they're always there. Mm-hmm. They're always there.
That's wonderful.
It's life-changing.
Yeah, it's global. I mean, it's incredible work. And where's the book's available on Amazon.com? Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And actually, there's 2 books because this year Eric released a body of work that's been a long time in the making called Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life. So I said the first book is really the foundation of Reconnective Healing and how it came into being. Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life is really the bigger picture of what the possibilities are with the work, with this mission called the Reconnection, and how lives are changing and the whole planet is changing. Eric is on a mission. He is the steward of this work, and he is compelled to really introduce as much of the population as possible, because as more and more people are interacting with these frequencies, literally it does illuminate the planet and ultimately illuminates, shifts, and evolves this plane in existence. Mm-hmm. And as people are interacting with these frequencies, there's a huge field effect. Again, that's a scientific study that's been done by scientists that you've probably heard of, like Gary Schwartz out of the University of Arizona, Konstantin Karakov's team out of St. Petersburg, Russia, Bill Tiller, who used to be professor at Stanford. He's got all kinds of books that my eyes would glaze over reading, but he's a brilliant scientist, and he has written an entire book called Science Proves Reconnective Healing. Mm-hmm. So there's all these research studies that really do show that there is something new and there is something very different going on with these frequencies. And, one of the most interesting things I found as a Reiki master teacher when I first was cosmically dragged to a seminar in 2000, when you move away from the body, further and further from the body in energy bandwidth healing, it becomes weaker. So in Reiki, it's mostly hands-on, or at least just hovering over the body. And most energy healing modality is, within the etheric body or just over the body or on the body. But if you walk away from the person or the animal, it's going to dissipate, much like if you are sitting around a campfire and you're close to the fire, you can feel the energy of the fire when you're close up, but as you move away, it weakens with distance. Mm-hmm. That's really how energy modality healings work or happen. Reconnective healing actually amplifies. as we experience these sensations and all these nuances of things that we're noticing and observing happening with the client on the table or the animal, and as we start moving away further and further, actually we're feeling things, and as we're noticing these sensations and we're stretching them and we're moving away and further and further and further away, things generally amplify. We can see stronger responses of the registers with the person. And a register, by the way, is a response that we see that is an involuntary muscle group movement. And there's three primary things that we see in people, but then there's more. So the common ones are when we tune in and we start sort of, connecting into the frequencies, which actually allows the person who's in our presence to also connect and receive the frequencies. We start seeing things happen on the table that, frankly, in all of the things I studied, and I studied many, many, many different philosophies of healing. I just settled into Reiki for 11 years, but I did study a lot of modalities. Never did I see this kind of stuff going on. So the eyes will start doing rapid eye movement. Actually, rapid eye movement, REM, I think it takes the brain something like 40 minutes to get into that. But within a split second. Now, not everybody is going to demonstrate like that, but, you can be fairly certain that if you've got 10 people lined up, most of them are going to show that one. It seems to be the most predominant first register that we see. And it can also include the eyes rolling back and forth, or it was a little strange in the beginning for me, because it was much different than I was used to. Another one is the breathing will change. Now, the breathing changing in itself is not anything that profound. But when you see the breath go into this pattern, which we just, for lack of anything else, call it staccato breathing, because it kind of waves through the body. And when I'm working with a horse and they go into that level of demonstrating the registers, it is bizarre. I mean, you can see it rolling through their body.
Wow. And
it can be very big, a very big, sense, or you can see it's so obvious, or it can be very minor. Another one is we'll see involuntary muscle group movements of the fingers. Like on people, the fingers might start, we call it marionetting. Again, there's no technique, but we have to call some things, to give people an idea of what's going on. So there's various things. And another one is swallowing. People will start, swallowing harder. And we know that that's a register. Now, here's another interesting thing. Not everybody is going to demonstrate all of those. Some people will demonstrate none of them. But that is not a thermometer of what is occurring on the level of healing. Whether a person shows demonstrations or not of registers is not a way to measure what is going on with that healing. And the healing does occur on all levels. It occurs on the physical level, the mental level, the emotional level, the spiritual level, and beyond, because we are literally working multidimensionally.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing how that operates. How long does a session last?
Well, a healing can take place in a split second. So how long a session lasts again has no bearing on, how long it's going to take the healing to occur. The healing can occur spontaneously, or healing can unfold over time. But generally, a practitioner, because people who are out having a practice have a fee, and so we're not charging for the healing; we're charging for time.
Right.
And also, so most people that I know, it's about 30 minutes of table time, and then there's briefing and debriefing. So just under an hour, a person can be in and out of the office. But the thing is, we also realize that on a conscious level, if somebody walks through the door and you wave your hands around them for 5 seconds and say, okay, we're done, they may not be able to really accept that healing fully. So the time is important for two things. It's to be in fair exchange, because that's what we're charging for. Okay. and also to allow that person to settle in, go into, hopefully a relaxed state, which again has no bearing on whether or not the healing is going to come through. Honestly, I've seen some of, spontaneous, miraculous healings in the most noisiest, unusual places. And I think it's because the people have no expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So that is another key point about reconnective healing and interacting with these frequencies, is that the practitioner is better off not knowing what dis-ease the person is experiencing or the animal, because we are not treating symptoms.
Good.
This is not a result-oriented process. It's a process. It's not result-oriented. It's about the process. Sometimes a person has to go through other kinds of shifts. Other things have to shift, unfold, and change. Maybe there is something that they have to learn. Maybe somebody in their family or a friend, they could be having something going on in their life that is there to benefit other people. Anyway, the healing creates sometimes a level of awareness. But we have seen healings, you name it. Again, you can ask, does it work on cancer? Does it work on diabetes? Does it work on this? Does it work on that? The answer is going to be, it absolutely can, but we are not focused on the disease. Our attention is connecting, opening the door to illuminate that person's lives, to bring this light in for them to step through that door, and whatever is appropriate for them on their life path right now is what will occur.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wonderful work. And I take it you guys, do you work on the planet as well? I mean, I know you're working on people and animals, but is it also like a global collective that you work remotely on the planet? Have you tried that?
Well, as we heal ourselves and we heal others and we heal ourselves, guess what?
Right.
It illuminates the field. So, yes, it is transforming the planet. It is healing the planet and this plane in existence because of the fact that we are interacting with this new light.
Mm-hmm.
So really, the more people that are doing this interaction with this new light, the more accelerated things can unfold for world peace and shifting this planet.
Mm-hmm.
But we do not sit down and focus on healing the planet. We're all one. There is no separation. And so, therefore, when we are interacting with these frequencies which are accessible through the field, life in the field where we are present actually entrains into their own session. I did not send you a video, but I will. Of course, it does nobody any good, but I'll tell you that I was being filmed demonstrating working on a horse. And the cameraman was, pretty amazed at what he was seeing with this horse named Sinatra. Sinatra's eyes were blinking, his head was going, kind of nodding, his front legs were rocking. He had them all going on. His breathing pattern changed. He had it all going on, and that's what the cameraman was focused on in doing the interview. And I said, well, yes, that is really interesting, isn't it? But what's more interesting, why don't you look behind this horse and look behind you and scan your camera around this paddock. The horses all were entrained into their own session. Now, not one horse was taking anything away from another horse. The field becomes permeated with the light. So there's a huge field impact, a huge field effect. And so as the field becomes, I don't know what the word would be, that, ignited, lit up, it expands to other life. And so Goldie, he put the camera on Goldie, who was standing behind Sinatra, and Goldie's eyes were in register. Her breathing had changed. You could just take one look at her and know that something was going on. And the horse standing about 20 feet behind him. Now, I never put my attention on those horses because it's really not about that.
Mm-hmm.
It is simply being present and opening that door to bring this light through to illuminate.
That's wonderful.
Those in light up their existence, so to speak.
It's incredible. And do you
It really is.
Yeah, do you notice a difference with the energetic signature of animals versus people?
Well, we're really feeling the frequencies. We're interacting with, the frequencies in the field. We're really not, you've done a lot of healing work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are you accustomed to scanning the person's aura to look for highs and lows and hot and cold and, weaknesses and strengths and trying, balance everything out and get that kind of information, right? Well, that's pretty much what healing modalities do. That is not what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we are not scanning the auric field, trying to figure out where we need to bring balance in. All we're really doing is noticing the sensations, listening with a different sense of what we're feeling in our hands, and sometimes actually in our whole being, and observing the being that we're working with, whether it's a human being or an animal, and noticing if it's amplifying or when you move your hand this way, what happens. There can be heat, there can be cold, there can be tingling, there can be like a magnetic feeling, between your fingers, magnetic feeling between you and the person. There's all kinds of sensations that can come into play. But really, we're not putting our attention on feeling the personal field of that person or their animal. And one time somebody asked me if the cat felt different than the cow. And I said, well, I'm really not feeling on that level. That's not really where we're putting our attention.
That makes sense. Makes incredible sense.
So we're not looking for areas of disease. We are really the purpose of Reconnective Healing is to awaken the person to their wholeness.
Right. That's awesome. And were you the one who developed this, or was it Dr. Pearl?
No. Dr. Pearl.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
so
awesome.
Dr. Pearl was the one in 1993 that he had those experiences, and his story is in the first part of the book, and it really is an interesting story. And the man has made just an amazing difference on this planet. He's very focused. I think there's 45 weekends a year. He is someplace in the world teaching this work.
Wow.
And I think he just was in Colombia, and next week he's going to be in Denver.
Yeah, awesome.
And then from there he goes to Toronto, and I don't know, maybe it's Australia. Maybe there's another one between Toronto and Australia. He's all over the world, but Eric Pearl is the one that really had the experience and the tenacity to really put his very strong in his determination to figure out what's going on. We really can't define it, by the way. We know that it works. We don't know how it works.
Interesting. Wow.
The scientists can't even say that.
Yeah.
They just can read. For instance, we have some of our seminars are science. We have scientists at the seminars doing research. And one of the teams, actually there's more than just one team, Bill Tiller and also Konstantin Krakow have teams that come in and they bring in devices that measure the thermodynamic energy in the room. They have to get a baseline in the room before they start researching the changes that are taking place at the seminar. Well, what they discovered, because they would set the equipment up a couple of days before the seminar would come in, to get the baseline of the room, they would go in a couple of days before. And they would start measuring the baseline. But as the seminar draws nearer, things start shifting and changing in the room. So we know there is an intelligence, actually, that starts conditioning the space of the room where the seminar is going to take place. Another one of the really interesting research projects is that when people come into the seminar, and we get a lot of master healers that come to the seminar, we also get people coming to the seminars that have never done healing work. And actually, anybody can do this work. In fact, I think people who don't have any experience, they don't have to let go of a lot of myths and dogma, that are attached to some of the modalities. But anyway, there are teams of scientists that measure the biophoton activity that's coming off of the person's hands. So they have measured master healers before entering the seminar who are personally convinced that they've been doing this work, and how couldn't they be doing this work if it's here? They've been doing this work. But what they find out is, no, they have not. Because when they measure the biophotonic activity coming off the hands, it measures in this baseline where healers from various modalities fit into. When they come out of the seminar, they have entered into a new baseline of humanity, and that new baseline of humanity is actually carrying, infused with, if you will, this new level of light and information. It's dynamically shown in the data that they had changed.
That's awesome. And
their vibration had changed.
Mm-hmm.
So it does raise the vibratory rate of people, animals, the planet, and environment. You know, I don't have to be present in my healing center to have, for somebody to have a healing. I could just leave the door open and say, come on in and lay down.
Well, that's
because
fantastic.
It's, there's a lot of activity in this part of the planet, at the base of this mountain and this land and this building, and they do hold the frequencies because the Earth does respond. Of course, she's alive.
Mm-hmm,
so how could the Earth not respond?
Yeah, intelligent design.
Exactly.
I thought I had a caller here, but I think that was Justin. He'll call back, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, that's incredible work. It just seems like you're just running the energy without any type of emotional, mental attachment to anything. It's just more of a just running that multiversal energy. I mean, I know I'm probably not describing it right, but it just
actually you are.
Okay.
You're saying it beautifully because it's perfect because it's important that we have no expectations, that we have no agenda,
mm-hmm.
that when we approach this work, we are open to the highest potential, whatever that might look like, whether we can observe it or not. But the person, well, of course, animals, I love working with animals because they don't arrive with expectations.
Right, yeah.
They're not awful. They're right now, they're in the present moment, and they're not thinking about, I have my aching back, I really want my back to be fixed. But people, a lot of times, people show up because they have serious illnesses. And also, by the way, people show up because they want to evolve. Mm-hmm. Not everybody comes to a practitioner of Reconnective Healing because they have a disease. Sometimes maybe they've got a bump in the road in their life. Maybe they just want to experience it. Maybe they just feel there's something out there that they're drawn to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because they're sick, so to speak. But anyway, we do in our pre-moments before engaging in the healing session on a massage table typically, have a conversation. In fact, the conversation usually takes place before they ever arrive at the practitioner's office, in our initial contact when we're making the appointment, to explain that for their highest good, for the most benefit of their time coming to this session, it is best that they let go of their attachment to outcome and allow the intelligence of the universe to do its work without any filters or directing. See, now there's a big difference because when I was doing other healing modalities, believe me, people came in and they sat down and they gave me a laundry list of what was wrong with them. And, of course, in a healing modality, sometimes there's a system, and you follow the system and you hold your hands in an area of disease longer. Well, that is not what we're doing here. We are interacting with the frequencies. We're seeing how the person's responding. They're feeling, they're having their experience. We're having an experience, and no one is standing any particular place around the body for any particular length of time. You could maybe do an entire session because you're having this interaction now. Dynamics are happening around their head. But it's not about the head or the toe or the hip or wherever you happen to be.
That's awesome.
It's about wholeness. It's about opening the door, allowing that light to come in. And, in the DNA, I read a book. Have you ever had Lee Carroll on your show?
No.
His channel. Well, his 12th book is amazing. And about 12 layers of the DNA. But reading that piece of material also deepened my understanding more profoundly of how this new light and information was interacting with the DNA. So basically, the door opens, you're illuminating the existence. The existence of that being is illuminated. What they do with that light, well, that's between themselves and themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the light goes in to the DNA. This course is DNA in every cell. And all the cells transmit and receive light. The DNA gives the instructions on what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So you can see why it would really prove of no value for a person to come to me or any other practitioner and me interfere.
Mm-hmm.
Me deciding what you need here, what you need there. I mean, really, that's filtering and directing. And if we don't know what they are dealing with in their life, we cannot interfere with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to say I work with performance horses. And yes, I can walk into a barn and they're open and they're bleeding a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But as a professional, we have to learn to not focus our attention on what is wrong. We have to stay in the purity of not directing. As soon as you go, well, look at that leg. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to interact. I'm going to heal that leg. Well, you know what? Now you're in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a new paradigm of healing.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy for me, by the way, in the beginning.
You kind of have to put the other stuff aside, I would imagine.
But once you do it, I mean, it's just once you get there and you can step into that level of mastery, it's why would you bring anything else in? Eric teaches that we are 100%. And we don't really need, as fun as it was, I mean, I worked with crystals, I worked with color, I did color therapy, I worked with flower essences. I mean, it was fun, but you know what? It was still about me figuring out what they needed. And really, is that the highest form of what is available to bring peace and love and light and healing into a person's life and their existence? I think not. Mm-hmm. We are in a new place right now, and it's time for us to evolve and really step up the game.
Awesome. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't about belief systems either. I mean, it's pretty much you just get everything out of the way and just let the energy do its thing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We don't manipulate anything.
Right. I like that. Yeah, and that's how the universe, I imagine, is. It's just it's just non-intrusive.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. And I suspect also when you talk about the DNA, this is also capable of rewiring the circuitry in the four-body system. I imagine it just kind of reboots the whole system. It
definitely does. It's a jump start.
Right, yeah.
So once you're introduced to this light and to these frequencies, it's a jump start.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we only do 3 healing sessions for a person or an animal. Mm-hmm. So if somebody has cancer or whatever it is, okay, and they come for a healing session, they already know that we are not going to have them come back 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When I was a Reiki master, I had a codependent practice. Mm-hmm. I depended on my clients for my income, and they depended on me for Reiki for their balance.
Right.
And they would have standing appointments. So with Reconnective Healing, it's basically 1, 2, or 3 healing sessions at any one time in one's life, and that's it. The light is on. It is not going to glow any brighter. Move on. Allow things to unfold as they will, and actually be aware that you have this within you and you have the power to heal yourself as well.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, I like that idea of not being codependent, and I get that totally too with healing sessions and people. And I used to have clients like that also, where because you're really not doing them any benefit if they have to keep coming back. I mean, there has to be kind of an independent source energy for them.
I mean, I'm not to say that the energy healing modalities out there weren't working, because, I mean, I did Reiki for 11 years for a reason.
Right. Yeah.
It worked, and people had healings, but you know what? This is just more evolved. This is new. We're in a new time on this planet. I mean, we are, you know, in a word, well, the trumpets are blowing. You know, we need to wake up to our wholeness to shift this entire plane in existence, because basically, in the second book, Solomon Speaks, on Reconnecting Your Life, it's amazing. This book is amazing. It isn't just for people who do this work, really. It's a book of self-examination. It points out wisdom that is very profound and very compelling. But one of the, well, I just lost my train of thought. I brought it up for a reason. There was a point, and then I went off on something else. But anyway.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back. It really, I mean, the book is just jam-packed with the most amazing. I'm going to say that I'm going to put it in the top 5 most important books I've ever read.
Excellent.
Really. Exactly. I was so excited when that book came out, because this is what I was going to say, it is a representation of where we are in this plane of existence, on this planet, at this time. And the time ahead. And what we need to do is basically wake up to our wholeness, recognize that there is no separation, that we are all one, and and that we're at a place of choice right now. I mean, I think you know that. I think your listeners know that we're in a very important part of our history and humankind in this planet. And the more people who are participating at that level, the better off we all are.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, the global unrest right now is a frightening thing, but I don't focus on it, because if you focus on it and you worry about it and you judge it and you measure it, you're participating in it.
True. It's like a psychic drain on some level. I was thinking about that.
Right.
Yeah, and yet how do you avoid the global conflict? Yeah, and that's one of the things. But it makes perfect sense to have those of us, I mean, the majority, to move it to a higher overtone, so we can get it out of here and shift it. So that makes perfect sense. But it does take discipline, and I imagine it's maybe not as easy. I don't know, but certainly like the message, and I believe in that message. I feel like we need to do it now. So.
Right. Well, I put a call to action out the first a couple of years ago. The first one I put out to the body of practitioners internationally was when that oil spill happened.
Yeah.
To just bring in awareness that, hey, you don't have to stand at a massage table to make a difference. You have these frequencies. You have access, and they are part of who you are. We basically are an omnidirectional lighthouse. And so when we are out there, or when we are so my call to action on that was not to try and heal this species of bird or, any one part of that entire situation. Oh, you asked me earlier, do we heal the planet? The answer is, well, no. But when something like that happens, I can't help but think of what can we do to permeate this entire disturbing situation with more light. And it simply is by being present, not even directing to any one part of it, but to the whole. And I also, when I teach the animal workshop, I tell people again, it's not all about being at a massage table or being in a barn or working on somebody's dog. When you're out in the world, in your everyday reality, these frequencies are always on. They're always present. They're never off. They're always there. But when you put your attention on them, they amplify. And it has a huge field effect. So when you walk into the grocery store and you just say, oh, let me just put my attention on the frequencies, it just means, what does that mean? It means, oh, you just feel them. You just recognize that they're there, and they seem to transmit larger.
Right. Yeah. And I would say that, in a realm of where they're genetically modifying things, I suspect that a vibrational frequency alone would alter that genetically modified food. Am I mistaken, or can we?
No, you're not. No,
okay.
You're not at all. In fact, I don't know that there's any actual research on that other than the plant study, but here's what I hear from people who have gardens. Do you have a garden?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Well, I really hope I get to meet you in Denver.
Oh, yeah, well, in Boulder, you're coming in Boulder, too, aren't you? Going to be?
Well, no, I'm not going to be. Eric will be in Boulder.
Okay.
So I won't be in Boulder because, anyway, I'll get back to that. But I'm not personally going to be in Boulder, but that's okay because Eric will be in Boulder and the other part of the team, and he'll be introducing the work, and you will have an experience and the opportunity to feel the frequencies and interact with the frequencies. I'm going to tell you which one I recommend out of the two that are going to be in that area. But anyway, so where was I going with that?
Talking about a garden.
Oh, yeah, the garden. So people who have gardens who interact with the frequencies report that, they don't eat as much because, well, the vegetables are more nutrient dense.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a better content of nutrients in them. People who use it on flowers find that their blooms are bigger, they're healthier, they're more, they're just more beautiful. People who have had plants who were not doing well come back. I mean, I had in Phoenix, Arizona this winter, we had a deep freeze. Frost, freeze. It was cold. The desert, hello, we're not used to that here, and neither are our trees. And I had just had a new tree put in late in the summer, early fall. Well, it was not prepared for that, and it was, I think, it looked pretty dead. It really did. So I went, well, I'm going to just go out and I'm going to do a healing session on that tree. Why not? Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the tree's doing great.
Oh, wow.
It's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
So absolutely, anything that is alive, all life benefits. All life. Everything.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. I agree. Well, it's intelligent energy, plus it's all consciousness oriented. So you're working on that consciousness level, which I find it to be wonderful. I'm so glad you're doing this work, and it was fabulous.
I just I want to share a story because I just got. You might have seen it because I think Jackie Lappin, who's in the office, wrote it up. But I did a workshop with animals in Elk Grove, California. And there were 2 horses that were virtually unadoptable. Now, did I know this when I was there? No, I did not. All I know is they took us back to the horses, and they told us that we couldn't go in those pens, that we had to work from outside. Isn't it great that we don't have to be up close? Because we can work with all life, any wild animal, any horse that is, or a large animal that would not be safe. So we were told not to go into those pens. There was a practitioner standing outside of the one pen, and there was another practitioner standing outside of the other pen where those 2 horses were that this lady shared the healing story with me later. And she said, that's really odd. And I said, what? And she goes, well, you see that horse over that black horse doesn't like people, doesn't look at people, doesn't want to get any near people. We don't go anywhere near that horse, and that horse is standing up at the rail of the fencing, kind of reaching its head, stretching out towards that person. I went, oh, well, yeah, that's great. And then and she said, and that one too. Okay, 2 weeks after we're gone, both of those horses were adopted to their forever homes. Oh. And she told me, because I followed up with it, because the practitioners that were in the class, one of them emailed me and they said, did you get any information? Was there any changes at that sanctuary? And so I contacted the sanctuary and she reported back. And she said, well, there is this. This was a big deal. And she said, we were so shocked at the differences in those horses, and there's no other explanation. The black horse actually went to a home with a 4-year-old boy, and she said when the 4-year-old boy met the horse, he was petting the horse all over the face, all over that horse. This horse had hysteria, meaning he hated people.
Wow.
Really was so abused, so being treated so cruelly that it became a dangerous animal. Well, that horse now is in his forever home, as is the other one. So things, again, we had no idea.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Wow, that's just incredible. And are you planning on working on any books yourself or no?
Well, yeah, there is one actually.
So is that something that?
But it's not out.
Okay.
I don't. I just am. No. It's just I need help. So.
I'm looking forward to that. When you do put it out, let us know, would you?
I will.
Yeah, you have a beautiful energy, by the way. Your energetic vibration. I'm sure people can pick up on it through the audience too. I certainly can. It's really nice. Yeah, pure energy for sure. So I'm really glad you're on tonight. And why don't you, if people want to get a hold of you, how would they do that? What's the best way?
Well, if they would like to find a practitioner in their area, because there are practitioners all over the world, they can go to www.thereconnection.com, and there's a practitioner directory there. Also, there's a lot of podcasts that they can see, and I think there's some interviews with me on there, and a lot of Eric, of course. And I'm in the directory, so they can contact me. It's very simple. They can contact me by going to that directory. My email address is Animals Are Waiting, but really just go to the website. I'm all over the website, the schedule of events. And you click on schedule events, and you just scroll down, and anything to do with animals will have my name on it, and my contact and my phone number and my email address.
That's wonderful. And you do the distant healing work on the animals as well, right?
Animals and people.
That's awesome.
I was at a pet store today. I was at Petco, actually, and so I walked through. And while I was there, I went through the aquarium section, and I went through the budgie section, and then I went through the reptiles. And as I passed through, I was just charging the field. Mm-hmm. So even when we're out in our everyday activity, I always go to the bird cages and look for the ones with the birds on the bottom of the cage, because those are the sick birds. And put my attention on that.
Okay. And we're heading for a break here. We'll be right back with Renee Coltson on Ravenstar's Witching Hour. Stay tuned, everybody.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Intuitive improvisation is the secret of genius.
I want to break free.
Oh, I see.
I put my pants on,
so
just like the rest of you, one leg at a time.
I guess I'll have to watch.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more Jacker.
I turn cities into salt.
Oh, okay.
You gotta come work for me.
Right.
I could get you in now. You love it. Nobody tells you when to go to bed.
You want to call in, sure.
All day, all night.
If you want to fight or you got something more important.
You eat all the ice cream you want.
I'll take that too.
You're talking to me all wrong. It's the wrong tone.
I know all these people. I don't know all these people.
Is there anybody out there?
I see. Right. Yeah, I'm challenged.
Changing reality.
Where life is beautiful.
The Hijacker. Monday through Thursday at midnight. Be there. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
How dare you, sir? How dare you? No, how dare you? No, how dare you? How dare you? No, how dare you? You dare to damn me? How dare you? How dare me when I how dare you? You big sleepyhead.
Hello all, thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. We are the #1 public access, commercial-free internet talk radio station on the web, with between 12 and 16 hours of live programming per day, bringing you news, politics, entertainment, and just plain human interactive talks with our extremely informative and successful nightly open caller roundtables. And how do we do this? Through the support of volunteers and donations from good listeners like you. So if you're digging what you hear, and we are bringing you an entertaining and informative service, please visit our site support page and donate to the cause. Keep us live, keep us kicking, help us bring you the talk. We are already here. Help keep us here. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Revolution Radio!
How the pressure! How to get naked! I can't get it! I can't get to it!
Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back, everybody, to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. If you'd like to call in, the number is 347-688-2902 or Freedom Screen on Skype. And I'm here with Renee Coltson. Renee, you there?
I am.
It's great to have you on. I'm really enjoying this, having you on tonight, so I really appreciate it. Once again, thank you for coming on the show and sharing your wonderful information with the audience. I was going to ask you about if you could tell the listeners a little bit about the Partnership in Planetary Healing, which you founded, and what this involves.
Well, Partnership in Planetary Healing is a humanitarian organization, not-for-profit, that basically kind of created itself, back in 1996. Just is, again, a sequence of those events, but it's really dedicated to easing suffering and raising awareness. And it has a full scope of many, many different missions. And one of them, in the beginning, we would gather together and had a line that people could call in and find out where we were focusing the healing attention to in the world. Then I started doing a lot of programs with kids in schools, and I have to say I really want to get back out, and we really want to get back out into the school system again because they're not teaching children consciousness in schools. And, of course, every time I went into school, I was talking about energy and how our thoughts impact our environment and ourselves, and our thoughts can traverse, countless miles and change things, and there's no separation. I brought that into the schools. The only thing the schools ever said to me was, never make it a religious thing and don't talk about God. He said, okay, we'll use different words. And so, anyway, so that was the focus for a while. And then I got really, really, really busy with the reconnection, and it took a few years, but finally I figured out how to bridge the reconnection with the mission of partnership and planetary healing. So the bridge there is we actually do fundraisers. I just did one out in Parker about 3 weeks ago. I was in Parker, Colorado.
Oh, nice. At
the Edwards Foundation for Rescued Animals, and what we do is we go in and we introduce the work to people in the community or from wherever they like to come in, and they get to meet these frequencies, not only meet them, interact with them, and play with them, they get to actually interact with the animals and walk away really knowing, like, this is real, and that was strange, but look what happened. So that's another thing that we're doing. And then the website is really focused right now, as I said, things shift and change because there is so much going on. The focus of the Partnership and Planetary Healing website right now is about the energy, universal laws, about understanding cause and effect, that the law of balance reigns supreme and all of that. So it's about healing the planet. It's about healing humanity. It's about recognizing that we are all connected, and if you are cruel to an animal or you are cruel to another human being, you're doing it to yourself.
Exactly, and that's huge, cause and effect. Amazing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. In fact, back to the Solomon Speaks book, I really love some of the points that book makes, because there was a point in there today that said, if your life is in chaos, if you are experiencing chaos, it's because you're in chaos.
Interesting.
So your outer and your external world is a reflection of what's going on in you.
Well, that sure makes a lot of sense.
It does. And, so if we all mind our P's and Q's about how we think and what we put out there and what we want to create, because we definitely are co-creating.
Absolutely.
We would be living in a different world if everyone recognized that we are not separate, that what one does to another person or another life form, you're actually doing it to yourself. I think if everybody lived their life that way, we would be living in a different world. If we treated as a whole of humanity, treated animals differently, we would be living in a different world.
I totally agree. Yeah. It's really
animals they're sentient beings. They have a purpose. They have a reason for being here too. They're also evolving. They're also here to experience
they're advanced life forms. At least I consider them to be very advanced.
Yes, they certainly are. I have my little advanced life form living right here next to me, Teddy.
Yeah, I'm a real animal lover. I'm really big on animals. More so, I guess I want to say more so than people sometimes, but yeah, definitely in tune with animals. Love them,
we need each other. We need every species that is on this planet is part of the balance of this biosphere. And when one thing goes awry with any one of the species, or there's a crippling effect with anything or anyone, it really does impact the whole biosphere, all of this.
I agree with that too. Yeah, what a profound message you have. I mean, it's really important that a lot of people hear this, and globally. I mean, so I'm glad you're doing this work, and Dr. Pearl's doing this work and traveling around and showing people and trying to teach them what's happening here.
Yeah, and I just took a look at the schedule of events because I wanted to get a feeling of, what's going on in the near future. And there's so many different ways to experience this work. I mean, I looked at what Eric's doing, what we have going on in Denver, but in any city where we are, this is this is what happens. So whatever part of the world somebody's in, they can, if Eric isn't coming to their specific city, he's going to be someplace in that part of the world. I was just looking at it, and he's got an event. I was looking at Boulder specifically, in Boulder on the 10th of September, and it's called Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life. Well, that's going to be a really interesting night focused around his second book.
Excellent.
And it's got a whole different flavor. Anywhere you can go to any and all of these events and not really have an experience that's repeated. It's that big, what is going on. And then on the 11th of September, he's in Denver. It's called Explore the New Frequencies of Healing. So that is the foundational part of Reconnective Healing. And, experiencing, we do feeling the frequencies exercises, and he shares his story, which is really very entertaining. Mm-hmm. It's a very profound story, but he's a very entertaining man. He's awesome. He's a great speaker. So that's September 11th. And then on the 12th, in Denver, we have now a Reconnective Yoga workshop. So we also have a program called Reconnective Yoga, where yoga instructors bring these frequencies into their yoga studio.
Wow, that's great.
And, yeah, it's very profound. And so people then, learn how to bring these frequencies into the yoga that they do. What they have found with some of this, and I'm usually doing something else, so I've been to a couple of yoga things, but I don't know all of those positions, and I don't know those. But I know that people say that they're able to go into is it called a position?
I think so. Well, I'm not big on yoga. I'm a martial artist.
Yeah, this is where Paul can come in.
Oh, sorry.
So anyway, they can get into that position and hold it longer because the frequencies support your life force. They bring more light. So that's going on in Denver at the Embassy Suites on the 12th. And then following that, simultaneously, now we're back to Boulder.
Wow.
And Eric is in Boulder.
Sweet.
And he's, again, presenting the Reconnection Heal Others, Heal Yourself about Reconnective Healing. And while he is doing that, I'm in Denver.
Oh, my goodness.
At the Embassy Suites introducing Reconnective Animals. So at that one, I have my little canine assistant, Teddy. He travels with me everywhere domestically. And we'll talk about how Reconnective Healing benefits animals and the bigger story about this work. And then that leads into the next day, which when we start the level 1 and 2 training. On Friday night, it's again open to the public. It's called the Essence of Healing presentation. And that's a very comprehensive presentation with Eric, really on. It's great.
Yeah.
The other ones are a little smaller, not they're all great. They're all just great. At the ones in Boulder, and then he's got another one actually, and this one is really exciting. How did I glaze over that one? It's at Free University in Denver. Are you familiar with that?
No, not really.
So let me see. That will be, here it is. This one, I did cover it in Denver, Explore the New Frequencies of Healing. This is an interactive night. I think that the people are going to walk out of there with some mind-blowing experiences that night. That's September 11th at the Colorado Free University in Denver.
Very good.
So there's a lot going on in Denver, and then we're teaching people how to facilitate the reconnection, and then I have a full-day workshop out in Parker on Wednesday, the Reconnective Healing with Animals Mentoring Workshop. And actually, now, how far are you from Parker?
Well, I'm actually up in the mountains towards Ned.
I have no idea.
Well, west of Boulder.
So Parker, because I was going to say, it's tough to go through my workshop. It's a full-day event. It's a prerequisite that a person has to first complete level 1 and 2 because you've got to get the foundations of reconnective healing and know how to access these frequencies and the fundamentals of the art, the science, and the philosophy of the work. And so then people can come to the animals if they want to know more, advance themselves on that level. But nobody has to go to that workshop to work with animals.
That's great.
It's not a requirement to work with animals. When you walk out of that seminar on Sunday night, you're fully able to step into your mastery and see the potential the same as Eric Pro would or any practitioner with a lot of experience, because it has nothing to do with how experienced we are. Nothing. It has to do with being an observer and noticing and just knowing how to access the frequencies. So everybody really is has the ability to work at the highest level on the planet after that one weekend. So you don't have to go for any more special training. There isn't any more to know. The only reason we offer that workshop, frankly, is because the animals are not walking through your front door and laying on a massage table. So there's a different dynamic and protocol about, interacting with multifarious species.
Right.
So You're welcome to come to that. I think I could get you to a point where we could make sure you had a great experience that day.
Yeah,
I'd
totally.
invite you to come. If you can get to Parker on the 18th, you're welcome to come. I would love to hit. It might be the only chance I get to meet you.
Yeah, I definitely want to meet you too. And yeah, I'm totally into this big time. I'm just totally switched on about it. I feel a real resonance with the whole material. It's really interesting. But I was going to ask you, do you work with vets? This would be perfect.
Yes, I do. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got some good stories. When I get a phone call and somebody says, this vet, the name of vet gave me your number, well, I know it's life-threatening. I know for sure, which is, sometimes a tough thing. But I know that if the vet says, well, try this, they've said, isn't there something that, the horse has basically gotten, or a dog has gotten the death call? Mm-hmm. There's nothing that can be done. I worked with a dog that had bloat. This was from a distance. And they really were just that there's just no way that this dog is going to come out of this. But by the next morning, he was back to normal. He had a spontaneous healing from a distance. So yes, veterinarian, and actually I've had veterinarians. Now this has surprised me over the years that a veterinarian would come to the mentoring course with animals. Because the first time a veterinarian asked if he could sign on with me just to go with me and do some one-on-one training, I thought, why would you need that? Aren't you a vet? Don't you? All you have to do is know how to access the frequencies and go do it yourself. Mm-hmm. It's really not that difficult. But over the years, I've had a lot of veterinarians who've shown up at my workshop and gone through the full 8-hour class, and they're sitting there taking notes, and I got, it is kind of a different approach. Mm-hmm. Let's face it. Now, my vet, because I have a vet, I have to say that I have a vet. Of course, I have a veterinarian for my beautiful being, my horses, and my dog, and my cat, but I don't need to take my animals to the vet like you might normally have to. I think I saved a lot of money on veterinarian calls, and
I believe that, yeah.
Well, yeah, I used to, in the early days, I used to, if anything was going on, it was a vet call. And now, if anybody's colicky or it's a vet call, and I explain to my vet what's going on, he goes, okay, keep me posted, do your thing, let me know how it's going. And then we can, make the call, the decision if he needs to come. I had a horse one time that wasn't eating, and I knew there was something wrong. So again, my vet was not in town that weekend, and I called him, and he said, well, just do your thing. And it got to, to the day I went, this is not changing. This horse is suffering. So in that case, he sent another vet out, and he had a 20-pound boulder trying to, squeeze through his transverse colon. I'm sorry, nothing's going to change that one. Mm-hmm. So I lost that horse. But still, the wonderful thing with having the ability to interact, and I was on a ranch with 35 horses, and there's always something going on with one of them. I walked out, I was feeding the other day, and I walked to the back, and Angel was really limping. She's an elderly horse. She was really lame that morning. We had a lot of humidity going on. So I just spent a few minutes, illuminating the field, and it's great to be able to be empowered, really, to be able to help something suffering. And wild animals, I can tell you I have an interesting, array of wild animals that come through who are, injured. I don't know how they know and how they find us. I don't know. There must be a light. Well, there must be a light.
Oh, yeah, radar, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, so you actually work on the wild animals as well?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing with a wild animal. You're not going to approach an animal that's wild, that could be dangerous, that could be rabid. Mm-hmm. We don't have to. So all we do is, there's the animal, or it could be a deer, and the deer isn't going to be comfortable. I've had a lot of different episodes with, wild animals. Well, you just put your attention on the animal, however far. They could be 50 yards away, it could be 100 yards away, it could be, 20 feet away. You just put your attention, feel the frequencies, it connects with that being, and you're in session. Nice. And if the animal runs off, that's okay. because you're so connected.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep doing it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's like people can be rabid too, so I guess you could do work on strange people from a distance. I was thinking about this whole craziness going on across, the world. So literally, you could probably do the same thing on that level, I would think. It'd be interesting to see what it would do.
It does empower you to actually step in and do something.
Right, exactly.
Without, you're not interfering. There are things that you're just not going to interfere with.
Mm-hmm.
On a real level. But you are empowered to just go, oh, a little frequency work here.
Yeah.
We do it on airplanes, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
You know how babies on the, when you're descending, the babies start crying, and I just go, God, don't you know what's wrong with your child? The ears are uncomfortable, and you can, and I have done this, and we have lots of stories from the international teaching team because we all share our stories, and what we can do when we're in a situation where there's suffering going on. We don't have to run up to the mother or the father and say, oh, let me work on your child. We can just sit where we are, mind our own business, and engage.
Nice. That's awesome.
Because there's really no reason do you need permission to, for instance, pray for somebody? I mean, we do not have to ask permission to do this. It's really not interfering with anybody's free will. You're basically opening the door to eliminate their existence, and they choose are they going to walk through that door or not.
Right. Exactly. It's not a harmful energy.
Right.
Doesn't sound like
it's all right.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, with all the man-made transmissions, I know they run a lot of man-made transmissions on this planet to scramble frequencies and signatures. This sounds like it just blows right through all that. Is that correct?
That is correct. As a matter of fact, that's a great question. You know how in energy modalities you shouldn't have a battery, you take your watch off, you take your jewelry off, a lot of modalities that you don't keep your watch on because it's got a battery on it, right? Well, with this work, there is no interference. Absolutely nothing can interfere with these frequencies. In fact, in the seminar, when we're at the massage table, somebody walks through. Now remember, Eric is wearing a battery pack because he's got his microphone on. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't take his microphone off because he's interacting with somebody. He doesn't have to. He doesn't take his watch off. We don't take our jewelry off. At one point, I don't know what point, I got over taking all my jewelry off because when I did Reiki, I took my jewelry off because, if you had a stone on your hand, it was going to, somehow it was going to alter the clarity of the Reiki, or maybe it was going to pick up more on that amethyst energy than it did, Mm-hmm. It was like you had to get rid of the interference. With Reconnective Healing, there is nothing that can be interference. So we walk through the room with we usually go into the kitchen and ask for a great big cookie sheet. And we walk through. Now, mind you, there might be a person laying on the massage table, and the practitioner that is interacting with that person might be 20 feet pulling away from the table, or it could be 2 feet. It just depends on the exercise we're doing. But we walk past between the person's head on the massage table and the practitioner, and nothing changes. Like if that person is in a full-blown register and their hands are flopping around on the table and their eyes are moving, that does not diminish just because somebody just walked through the room and put a big piece of metal between the practitioner and the person on the table.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I have never really encountered anywhere because, yes, we have radio waves, microwaves, we have all these waves going through. I mean, people have their practices in the city, so we, certainly a good thing that there can't be any interference. I chose to have my primary practice kind of, removed from the city. I'm quite a ways away from Phoenix. I'm at the base of a mountain called Pyramid Peak, and I mean, just because I happen to like it. But you know what? There's waves here, too. Mm-hmm. You can't get away from that in today's world.
Right. And I suspect, like with people who have implants or things like that, I suspect the energy would just probably neutralize all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't have any rules on not working on a person with a pacemaker.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Or even like foreign implants, like extraterrestrial or man-made.
There you go.
The same thing.
That's right.
Because I definitely.
How would we even know, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, unless you measure it.
I don't know. And, I don't know. That's an interesting point. I mean, I've never had a conversation with anybody who's come to me saying, I have this alien implant. But but what if they did know? I wonder if it would actually, because, that would be putting the body into disease, wouldn't it?
Right. Well, I actually have them, and I have an anomaly signature. So when I meet you, or Dr. Pearl, we can play with that.
Well, I think that would be great. That would be fun. I think you should show up and, he looks, he does demonstrations at the presentations. I wish you weren't so far from Denver. I mean, it would be great if you could come to the seminar.
I'll definitely try to get over there. I'm not that far away. I mean, I'm just...
Well, good, then.
I'm just up in Boulder, west of Boulder, up the mountain.
Well, Boulder, yeah, and then, because I was just there, and I was up in Aspen. We went up to Aspen because I was on had a TV interview, and they said Aspen. When the office called, they said, well, it's only a couple hour drive. I went, oh, okay.
Beautiful.
No. It was gorgeous. But here's the thing. I went from Phoenix, Arizona, landed in Denver, went to Boulder. So I'm at 2,000 feet here. So now I'm in Boulder. And now at 5:30 in the morning, we're leaving. We're going up to Aspen. Well, it was 4 hours, by the way, not a 2-hour drive. I'm going through all this altitude sickness. I'm nauseated. My hands doing something. So I went, whoa, I'll just do a self-healing here. And by the time I was on the air, I was all good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Great.
It's a handy little tool to have.
I'm telling you, it's more than handy. I mean, if everybody had access to this and we're doing...
Everyone does have access to it.
And that's just it. Yeah, they need to know that and then use it so that we don't have to deal with this Obamacare and all this other craziness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Just get rid of all that.
I've never had insurance.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I don't get sick.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need... Yeah, exactly. I imagine that you don't because, your body's running the right energy. You're not interfering.
Well, I don't want to say that we're superhuman exactly yet. I mean, people can get ill. I mean, we still can get a bacteria or virus, whatever, but I just happen to, I don't know. I just ride right through it apparently. But the thing is, whatever comes up, I think that, and again, that would depend, wouldn't it? If that illness or that obstacle was in your path because it was a growth opportunity. Mm-hmm. So... things come up in your world because sometimes you just need them.
Right, and I'm also wondering how much of that is emotional debris that their emotional bodies pulling it in, making them sick, or their programming.
Of course, yeah, exactly.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, that's the beauty of this is, of course, it works on all levels. The physical healings are the easiest to see and witness and observe. Mm-hmm. The emotional and the mental healings, well, my dog, Teddy, he was tied to a utility pole in the summer, in an alley, to die, basically. Aww. And I guess, I mean, while, he was abandoned. And the SRP guy took him to a veterinarian clinic, and he was a wreck when I got him. I saw his picture, and I just kind of fell in love with him. So, he ended up, I'm the lucky one. I got him. Aww. He's my pal. And he was a mess. I mean, when I say a mess, I mean emotionally. And mentally, he was a basket case. Mm-hmm. And he was afraid of everything. He wouldn't step on carpeting. He certainly wouldn't jump on the bed or the couch. Okay, he's over all of that now. Teddy rules. I mean, he goes wherever. He does rule. But
that's great.
He got to resolve a lot of those issues. And they happened very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. He still has one. He sees a big male dog. He wants to beat them up. He's only 12 pounds.
Oh, so wow.
I know, we'll be walking along the street and I'll saw a big dog coming, I'll scoop him up, and the person usually will say, oh, don't worry, my dog won't hurt your dog. I go, it's just not my dog that I'm worried about. I was worried about their dog.
Oh, funny.
So, it is funny.
What kind of dog is it?
Well, I don't know, but he is, people think he's a Havanese or a Havanese poodle mix or a Coton something. He's a cute dog. He's definitely part poodle. But he's adorable. Well, you'll meet him. If you meet me in Colorado, he'll be wherever I am, he is.
That's awesome. Do you fly with your dog?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
I do. Well, he is part of the team.
Nice. That's wonderful.
So he actually, let's just say, he's in service.
He sounds precious.
He is. Oh, yeah, you meet him.
Nice. Awesome.
He's awesome.
And your work with children now, do children come to the workshops or no?
Well, we have special workshops for children. You know why? Because children only take 2 hours, but it takes a whole weekend for adults to learn.
That's funny.
It is 2 hours. Oh my gosh! I'm telling you, kids and animals. That's just
amazing.
Me. It is.
Wow, and you get them in school, and it's like.
well, and you know what? They get it.
That's
and
great.
They feel it. We explain a little bit about what energy is. Not a whole lot. 2 hours, and then they get to go to the massage table and work on each other. When they get to work, if it's my class, you better know there's going to be animals here, right? And then they are able to heal themselves, heal their friends, their family pets, and they have an understanding that they're empowered to actually make this difference. It's amazing. The Reconnective Kids programs are really very fulfilling to be part of that. On YouTube, there is a slideshow, I think, of the Kids and Animals program I did up in Edmonton, Canada, a couple of years ago. That was just really fun. And also we share the importance of taking care of the planet, and we even teach them that they can do this with plants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how big
2
is
hours,
that?
Dear Master, in 2 hours.
That's fabulous. And it's like you said you were working with the schools. Are you still working with the schools on this, or?
Well, I had to put that on the back burner because I travel so much, but it's coming. But I'm working on. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to
the
say
program is. It's back on. I just need to get out there and put it together. It's
awesome. How many schools do you think are open to that? I mean, are all the schools open to that sort of thing, or do they kind of discriminate? No. Yeah, okay.
It's difficult to walk through the front door and just go in the principal's office and lay this out for them. Mm-hmm. I just happened to, when I was in the school system, I just knew a lot of school teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And now a funny thing is, one of the school teachers that was at an elementary school, and I was in there I was booked for 1 day, and they invited me back for 3 more days and invited other classes into the activity. And, just really making them aware that, the really cool thing about that particular program was for some reason, I wasn't clear what I was going to deliver when I went to that school. It was not clear. And I thought, well, that's really strange. I don't know what I'm going to really talk about because nothing was feeling right. I was waiting for the intuitive hit, well, what are we going to talk about, right? And I was walking out the door, and I heard President Clinton, so that was a while ago that I did this school, say that our hearts and our thoughts go out to these families. It was when one of those situations happened in the school where there were shootings. And I thought, oh, well, there it is. That's it. I'm going to be talking about the President of the United States of America just made a statement that our thoughts can affect the people someplace else in the world. I'm going to go talk about this with the children. And that's what I did. And so when they become aware of that, the awareness is what they need to know. They need to be aware that they're not teaching that in school. I don't know how they can't teach this in school.
No, I can't either, but what are they teaching in school?
I don't know. I mean, they really need to know about cause and effect. Absolutely. They really need to know about energy. They really need to know about what you put out comes back. They need to know that they're impacting their internal and their external environment is governed by what they're thinking.
Absolutely.
And when you bring reconnective healing into that equation, you've got a tool. You have something that you can shift through events in your life that are causing issues and situations that are uncomfortable. Even in the competitive sports, say, we have data also that proves that peak performance improves with these frequencies.
I believe it.
So for me personally, it's at the racetrack. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
They have me come work with their horses basically because they know they're going to run better or they're going to heal faster. But they don't really care what you call it. The consciousness at the racetracks, So sorry if there's anybody out there listening, but really, when I started going to racetracks, I thought, why am I here? I mean, other than because the horses are suffering, and I'm happy to be there for that, but it was a difficult arena for me to go into because there was so much abuse and disrespect for these beautiful beings. They were treated like machines. Well, it gave me an opportunity to actually shift some thinking. Mm-hmm. But as far as the healing factor of athletics, Eric has done work with the Russian Olympic team because, well, I suppose the U.S. Olympic team's not open-minded enough. I don't know. But he went to Russia. Wow. And they did some studies. Konstantin Karakov did some studies with the athletes. And we have, again, the research is in Russian, I can't read it, but I can see the graphs. Mm-hmm. I can read the information on things that changed. So for children, back to the children, there's a lot of competitions going on with children in sports and just contests, period. And even riding academies. I would love to do a program at a children's riding academy called Riding with the Frequencies, to work with those children so they can bring these frequencies through when they're in the competitive mode. Mm-hmm. Because their horses are going to entrain. The wisdom of the universe is going to say the horse is not going to fall down and go to sleep. Okay. They're just going to, possibly perform better. So there's all this research on this as well. I mean, children, they are, of course, the future of our species and this planet. Mm-hmm. So I do think it's really important to get back out into the school systems, but it is not that easy to walk through the front door and be welcomed in with open arms. So it has to be through a connection. It has to be an introduction. And the lady that was the teacher at that school I told you about when President Clinton made that statement, she now is a teacher in the prison system for delinquent girls. So I'm going to be talking to her now that she's settled into that, about coming in and developing a program because, of course, these girls are having issues because, well, there was some trauma in their life that they are carrying, right? That is inhibiting their evolution or inhibiting their ability to grow through it. So, again, you bring these frequencies of healing in. That's why it's called Solomon Speaks and Reconnecting Your Life. I
love it. I'm telling you. Do they have healing crises, any of your patients or clients?
Another great question, because I sure was used to those with Reiki. No, not with this.
Wow.
When I did Reiki, I would never work on a racehorse the day of a race or the night before a race, not ever, because it was just too much of a possibility that the cellular memory was going to re-express itself and it was going to inhibit the freedom of movement of the horse, or an abscess was going to explode or something like that. Yes, I never, that was my rule, never. No, with Reconnective Healing, we do not see healing crises. Now, if I can't even think of any in all my years. I've been doing this for 14 years. But there are episodes out there of people who say they had them. But you know what? That's a consciousness thing. There are people who think it's no pain, no gain.
Yeah, it's their programming.
And if the practitioner continuously has that experience, they need to look at themselves.
I agree.
Because they're drawing the people to them. So no, healing crisis is not part of this work.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
It is.
I was going to ask you, do the frequencies have sounds? I mean,
yes.
They do.
Well, sure.
Okay.
Can we actually hear them with our ears? Not on this plane.
Okay.
But when a person is on the table, and I have to say, whatever a person can experience, well, so can an animal, because I can tell you that I've seen some pretty amazing stuff happen with animals that I go, I wonder what just happened. That look in their eye. But people do report hearing things, like sounds or tones when they're on the table, smelling things that are not in the room, seeing things, and even having hands touch them that are not mine, because we actually don't do hands-on. You can do hands-on with Reconnective Healing, but really it's continuously proven that it's stronger the further we're moving away from the body. But some people benefit. Some people enjoy that contact. Kids like that contact.
Right.
Elderly people sometimes like that contact. But there are multidimensional, I guess, other call them parallel reality experiences. I mean, we don't know. We call them the other people. Actually, other people, if somebody's...
Right. That's what I'm wondering.
It sounds scary if you don't know the whole thing.
Well,
but a scary one, but actually, nobody's ever jumped off. I'll tell you. Okay, I'm going to tell you a quick story on what really got me. Okay, I'm done with Reiki. I'm moving into this fully. And it didn't take that long. But when I came back from the San Diego seminar, I had Reiki clients, and they wanted Reiki, and that's what they came to me for, and that's what I did. And all of a sudden, I go to the seminar, and darn, I don't even know, how do I transition on this? Anyway, so this man came in one day who his wife knew I had gone to the seminar, and so it was the first time that someone was coming to me purposefully for Reconnective Healing. They weren't coming because they were used to Reiki, but I was going to try something new on them, and I was going to do a little Reiki and then do this. Okay, this guy comes to the door, and he's there, and I got to do fully Reconnective Healing because that's why he's there. He was such a gift for me because it forced me to step into my mastery. Well, he announced when he walked through the door that he really didn't believe in any of it. He was just there to basically shut his wife up. And that's okay because, I actually, even with Reiki, I liked skepticism. I liked that, because if you have somebody coming through the door with fully expectations, they're probably going to be in the way. So he's on the table, and I was a little bashful in the beginning about really moving my hands. Have you seen any of the videos with Eric Pearl on YouTube?
No, I need to. I need to actually take a look.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, it looks really quite different than what we're accustomed to, and you're really feeling, moving your hands through the air and experiencing different sensations and looking for things of interest and feeling a response, like you hit something and you feel a response maybe in your other hand. There's this connection. Well, I wasn't really comfortable with that because I was used to sitting on my Reiki bench with my eyes closed with the nice music going and my hands on a person, right? For 5 minutes and then move on to another spot. So I'm standing at the table because there's no sitting down because you don't do it. And I really felt like, wow, what if he opens his eyes? He's going to think I'm some sort of a crazy person, waving my hands around. So I just stood at the side of the table with my hands dropped down by my sides with my palms facing him. That's all I did. But I was feeling the frequencies. I mean, I knew I was interacting. Well, twice he opened his eyes, and he closed them again. So after it was all over, I debriefed him. I asked him what was his experience, and he said, well, I felt your hands go inside my body, and I felt you tugging on body parts inside of me, and then I felt you lifting my lip around. He goes, I thought she doesn't have the right to do that. And he goes, I opened my eyes, and you weren't doing anything. So he closed his eyes again. Then the second time, he said there was this bright white light, like a strobe light flashing in his eyes. He found it very annoying. And he thought, why would she have a light like that on? And he opened his eyes. He said it wasn't coming from an external source. So the thing I found interesting was the man just opened his eyes, looked, and closed them again. He didn't jump off the table and run out the door. So these of course, I'm used to all that now, and it doesn't always happen that way. I mean, because a person can come and be on the table, and they may not see anything, feel anything, smell anything. They may not have any experience, but you know what? I might be seeing something that's quite different from what they're experiencing. Right. I might be seeing their hands flopping around. I might be seeing their eyes moving, but they're not aware of it because they're not even experiencing the same body that I'm watching, apparently. I don't know.
That's amazing. It's like two different realities.
Exactly.
Wow.
That is precisely what I would say is true because when people say, no, I didn't feel anything, I went, were you aware of anything? No. I said, were you aware, of any movements? And no. And this happens a lot, And I go, wow, you couldn't feel that? And then, so why not? We don't really know, but I think your answer is great. Then the other, of course, possibility is we are observing and seeing nothing, because it is kind of engaging for the practitioner to observe and have wild stuff going on, but it doesn't happen all the time. And so you just stay focused, you stay present, you keep interacting, and then you ask them what they notice, and they give you this huge, huge report of what they were feeling. They felt their body sit up, they felt like the table was like tilting, they felt hands on their back, they felt like they were moving, they felt like they were floating, and I'm saying nothing, right? So again, I think that we're not experiencing the same reality. I don't know. I mean, that's like one for Eric.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is. So it's kind of fun work, but none of it matters. Whether they have an experience or we see anything, again, it's interesting. I was at a health fair, and this person who was a Reiki person came, and we were feeling the frequencies, and her eyes were all over the place. I mean, they were rapid eye movement, and they were rolling back and forth, and she goes, no, I felt nothing. And I said, well, so I asked her friend, I said, did you see that? And she said, yes. I said, tell your friend what you saw. So she did. 2 days later, the lady called me, and she goes, so what is it that you did to me? And I said, well, I didn't really do anything, but why do you ask? And she said, well, 2 years ago, I had a shot of Novocaine in her jaw when she had some dental work, and it killed a nerve. And she had no feeling in that part of her jaw for 2 years. And then she said, I started feeling it again. And now it's normal. Is that possible that whatever it is that you do did that? I went, well, it's probable. Because how else can you explain that?
Right.
Yes. And that was 30 seconds. See, awesome. I think when people don't have expectations, when they're not going through all of the rituals and all of the, techniques and stuff and expectations, and you just stand there and just feel the frequencies, a healing comes in just like that.
I agree. Yeah. It makes so much sense. You get everything else out of the way. Just direct. And you don't actually direct the energy either, do you? You just kind of run the energy.
Not at all.
Right?
No, in fact, we really need to stay out of the way on that.
Yeah. I was going to say, because it seems like from that background of Reiki, you'd want to direct it or something. But
well, and I will say it's very humbling.
Yeah.
Because, especially for people who are used to, being medical intuiting and getting information, it's just really not appropriate.
Right.
And it's very evolved from that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is.
Honestly, it really is.
It's like off-world healing. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
I can tell just point blank that, I just love what you're talking about. So you got me hooked.
I wish you'd come to the seminar.
I am. I'm going to make my way over there for sure. And I'm right here, so, definitely. That's totally cool. It was something I was going to ask you, but I can't remember. Gosh darn it. How much of your clientele is outside the U.S.? It sounds like you're pretty much everywhere, right?
Me personally, or the work?
Well, the work itself, I guess.
The work is global.
It is, so it's pretty well known.
Oh my God, we're in Europe. We're all over the world.
Okay, so
we're everywhere.
Okay, so pretty much everybody is up to speed, or other countries are getting up to speed with the technology.
Well, here's an interesting thing. People often say, "How long have you been doing this? And how long has this been? How long has that book been out? Why is it I've never heard about that?" Well, Eric was on Dr. Oz, but still, I mean, people. Well, not everybody watches Dr. Oz, but people don't really encounter this information until it's their turn.
Right.
So, it's all over the planet. Let's see, I got an email from somebody. I said, well, Eric was just there. She said, no way. I went, yeah, really? Oh, it was near Sacramento. And I said, we were just there in June. She said, really? Oh, I didn't know about it then. So, she's going to have to go. She's going to Denver. But so it's all over the world in all the countries. And I wish I could tell you exactly how many languages the book is printed in, because it's published in a whole lot of languages.
Wonderful.
That's a statistic that I should really have off the top of my head. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, this year, we were in South Africa, we're in Brazil, we're in Australia, Colombia, Norway. 45 weekends a year somewhere, and only 4 of those cities were the United States. Okay,
wow.
So in the yes, exactly. This is not like just the office is in the United States, but so in the United States this year, it's out of 45 weekends.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the U.S., Miami, Sacramento, Denver, and Newport Beach. 4 locations. That's it. The other 41 weekends are somewhere else.
Oh, why is that? So far as
because the world is a big place.
Oh my goodness! I was just thinking, is it just that the U.S. isn't that open to it, or?
Oh, it is. But Eric, they try to select areas that are kind of easy to get to, and they need a good, solid base of leadership in the areas as well.
Right.
In other words, the presence of the work with members of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Denver, it's Mary Beth Kennedy and.
Yeah.
And so the schedule of events is posted, to the end of the year. We are going to have a full year in 2014, and I do not know what that's going to look like yet. We don't know. It's not set. We don't have the schedule. We don't get our schedule until around the end of the year on where we're going. And last year I think I was in Norway, I was in Oslo, Amsterdam. Oh God, where else did I go? I was gone a lot.
Nice.
See, they all kind of meld into each other.
Oh, I bet.
This year I was scheduled in South Africa, in Brasilia, but I just couldn't get the right equation going with the animal venue. Because if the animal event isn't going to happen, I'm not there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But everybody else is.
Huh. Well, we're getting ready to wrap this up. Can you believe I can't believe this show's almost over, but before we do that, I just wanted to thank you for being on my show this evening. It's been incredible to have you on, and I hope to have you back and also meet you in person. So
I hope so.
Yeah, you're just fabulous, and this work is really ringing true for me, and I hope it rings true for everybody else who's listening, that they pay attention to this, because right now this is what a time to be involved in this type of thing, especially what's happening with the planet. We can turn it around, and this is one of the keys to do that, I feel. So I want to thank you for that. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and everybody at Revolution Radio, the staff and chat room and everybody. And next week, my guest is Robert Stanley. But stay tuned for Shiny Side Out with David Dunger and Becky coming up next. That'll sail you on to the night down under. And also, Dr. Pearl will be on my show in December. I don't know if you knew that or not, Renee.
I did know he's coming.
Yeah.
And you'll have read maybe both books by then.
Yeah, I will, I promise. I'm actually behind in my books. I feel terrible. I get all these books.
Oh, they're both really fast. Honestly, they're fast. They're quick reads. They're great. They're great.
Awesome. Yeah, there are a few things. I was going to ask you, do you work with people who have like disabilities, like in wheelchairs? How have you worked on people like that?
Oh, I wish I had more time, because yes, I actually had a young man came to me, and when he arrived, he was in a wheelchair, and he had a mountaineering accident. He had fallen off in the line, and his partner cut the line, so he fell to the ground and he was injured. Well, he actually got his legs back. Not right then. What he did was, his mother said his whole countenance had changed. He had his ambition back. He had his life force back. He was a different human being after that one session. And then when I worked with him again, and after that, he was actually able to put on his, he didn't have to be in a wheelchair. He evolved from that to being out of the wheelchair, and his life got back together, and he had his dream to be a doctor again. So, yes.
That's incredible. It's almost like it rewires the circuitry completely. It's amazing. It's an intelligent energy for sure.
Yes, it is. They just really have to, be at that place that they are really willing and able to, to walk through that door. The healing light is there.
And are you the conduit for this? I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I know it's something that you just do, but aren't you a conduit as well for the energy?
We really are a conduit, but not in the way that most people are thinking. In other words, yes, these frequencies will come through us, and the byproduct of the frequencies coming through us is this white light, this new level of light that's basically permeating the space. and available for the other person to take. But we're not sending. It's about receiving. We are never, ever in a state of projecting or sending energy to that person. They are simply receiving.
Wow.
It is very different. I think that boulders go to both because they're going to be both different.
Yeah, they sound like
really are. They're very different nights.
It's incredible. And when you do this work, I know that we talk a little bit about different dimensions, or maybe not, but realities. But do you actually think that perhaps their guides show up when you're working on them, regardless of what you're doing when you're running the energy? Or is there another type of race that connects in with this type of frequency?
Well, of course, we don't have a for sure answer on that, but I can tell you this. A couple weeks ago, a guy came in for a healing session, and he said, just give me a moment. I want to call in my guides. I go, you know what? Please don't.
That's great.
Because whoever, beings that need to be here, they'll be present. You don't need to call them. And Eric actually does too. Oh, God, he's a great teacher. He is just such a great teacher on that. But he goes, well, it's like you don't have to invite God in. God's here.
Right.
The universe is here already. So do the guides show up? We know that beings show up. We know that for sure. I mean, we get, people report it all the time. They see them, they feel them, they have these experiences. We have the experience where we definitely feel there's a presence in the room. I hear voices. Now I sound like a
no, well, both of them I
mean, sometimes I'll be working and I'll hear a radio and I'll go, there is no radio on here. And I'll go, where are those voices? Where's that transmission coming from? It's basically, the string theory, where we are in this space, in this place, but there's on another vibrational frequency, another plane of existence is occurring at the same time, in the same space, but a different plane of existence. And so it seems that there's a merging or exchange or I don't know, or a blending, I don't know. But somehow the door opens and things happen. Where do those smells come from?
Right.
I'll be working sometimes, all of a sudden I smell Nag Champa. There is not any incense in my healing center because we don't bring scents in because that will interfere with someone's experience. But plain, I can smell because I start coughing because I'm allergic.
Wow.
So it's a sense. It's perfumes, and I never used to be, but I'm really sensitive to all of that. And I go, wow, that's really strange. I have this interdimensional allergy to Nag Champa.
That's really interesting.
I don't know if it's an allergy, but it makes my throat constrict.
Yeah.
But the smell is I know what Nag Champa smells like, and sometimes people will have an experience where they smell the perfume of a loved one. Or, a cigar, or, they'll have something show up, which is why we really have that element of no interference, like no sense in the room, because no sounds in the room, no music, because it takes them maybe to a place in their life. Right. And also, it's going to mask the other possibilities that can come in and happen. You can have 10 people in a room at a seminar and they'll all report different experiences. Well, you can have 300 people in a seminar and they'll all report a different experience. And we'll go through the room and say, we'll give people a chance to talk about what they experience, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's really incredible. We're out of here. Looks like we're out of time. Okay. Renee, thank you so much for being on tonight, and thank you everybody for listening. Tune in next week, you guys, and have a great weekend. Okay? Bye-bye.
Thanks, Solaris. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.